Hey everyone, Mrhappy here, and welcome to Mondays with Mrhappy, aka Mrhappy Mondays, the weekly Q&A show where you ask me questions and I answer them. I feel like that's the least, slurry one of my openers has been in a while. I mean, I just ate lunch. Normally that makes everything worse, but this is going to be a short episode of Mondays with Mrhappy. I'm not doing it live on Twitch. Took the day off just to relax a little bit. Haven't gotten much sleep lately just because just having events in the evening and just not getting enough sleep in general. So I decided to take the day off, and there's not too many questions on the forum, so no Twitch questions, and I think we only have like 5 questions on the forums. Last week's episode was posted at kind of a weird time because I came back from PAX and then I had to record it on a Monday, then release it on a Monday. So yeah, it's all over the place. So short week. Next week will be an interesting one. Not next week's Mondays, but next week, because you know, we're at this point pretty close to the next patch. A lot of us thought it was going to be this Tuesday, and a lot of you looked at me and said, what days are going to be happy? And I said, the 11th, no doubt. They always do it 10 days after the live letter. And I ate my words because it's on the 18th. But we're still not too far out, so got a lot of guide work coming up, a lot of YouTube content coming along with the patch, on top of MapleStory 2 coming out, or going into early access on October 1st. I'm currently playing through Spider-Man and Dragon Quest, and I'm planning on not really making too many videos around either of them, probably just a thoughts video on each. Maybe Dragon Quest, I might do some highlights of the casino. I haven't gotten a jackpot yet, but a lot of people seem to really enjoy me doing the casino, so I might do some stuff on that. But anyway, let's start this episode with our sponsor list, because it doesn't matter how many questions we have, but we always have a certain amount of sponsors. Now, last week I made a promise that I would go through the sponsor list and update it properly for this week. I've not done that. Like I said, it's been kind of a weird week for me, but I like to acknowledge it here because it puts it fresh in my mind. Last week was a terrible time to say I was going to have that done by next week. So for those wondering, we have a sponsor list, people who have supported the YouTube channel through some rougher times, whether it be hashtag demonetization or more recently just rougher patch in my life in general. So again, we would like to thank those people because they help make sure that you know, I've always got a reminder of the people who enjoy my content and who do want to see more of that content. I've got something to say about that probably a little bit after this. And of course, we have our Patron of Light, Khuja Cross on Jenova. They've been a massive supporter over the last several months, and of course they always come with an image on the screen for all you guys because they are good at taking screenshots and I am not. So thank you, Khuja Cross on Jenova, again for your continued support. Very much appreciate it. Moving forward, we have our standard sponsors, and this list gets long. Let me drag it over here so I can speak into the microphone. So we have Nye-rick and Kaya Amatsuki of Midgardsormr, Remil Gaming, Sabo Empire, Mizra, Red Wings of the Baron FC of Zalera, Fray Blackheart, Cidus Oreo on Shiva, Syd Hellwind of Gilgamesh, Afro Ninja from Malboro, Cheesecake from Leviathan, Sploda, That Lame Weeb, Ashen Emiya of Cerberus, Argoti Tristam on Midgardsormr, Fafarian, Rendil, Giraffeswillrule, and Stevie-Rex and Neon. We move up to our elite sponsors. We have Senshi, Shinka, Crimson and Talvi Swift of Coworld, Just One Fox, Shadowlink on the Tonberry server, Dom, Asuka Wake from Jenova, Lemillionella of Midgardsormr, Sarah and the Avalanche Family on Malboro, Janu Ayatsu, Kifkin the Great Eagles on Exodus, Dark Graver, Katayoshi from Khuja, Skia Symphonia from Ragnarok, Rah Xephon from Exodus, Rynoet Westos the Purple Warrior, Magic Red Steel on Exodus, Lexxie Valentine, Mantaru the Rivivus FC from Zodiac, Sour Cream and Chives from Jenova. I'm going to make a quick thing. So Sour Cream and Chives, every time I read this, and I haven't changed it on my list, for a while I had Sour Cream and Chives from Jenova, but for some reason I never said it. And so for the last 3 months, I think, I've had the words from Jenova bolded. And I think about it and I laugh about it every time, but I just wanted to share that little story in the middle of the sponsor read. Continuing with our elite sponsors, Rynoet Chikara, Goetia Valfer of Siren, Hirschverse of Fairy, Phoenix Down FC on Goblin, and Saren from Zodiac. Finally, we have our premium sponsors, and I do believe there's one missing from this list, so I'll have to make sure to fix that at some point. Casual Heroes FC on Midgardsormr, Tatacha Taka, whose name I'm sure I'm butchering 2 weeks in a row, on Hyperion, Kana Uzuki on the Jenova server, Yu Starla on Coworld, Sathal, Sarah Frost from Behemoth, Diablo, Holy Tabasco, Red Thorn Asura, Kernai Oni, Askin Hawk from Shiva, Kraz015, Mustang, Serenity FC on Ultros, Kat Kazuma, Serial Kira on Cactar, Ignis Farragon from Diablos, Valestra of Fanfret, Not Quarters from Excalibur, Corvus Moonscar, Private Mikey, Spike, Nadia Kirasami, Rudy Rudiger, Tin Colossus, Kill Hackman, Brawl Jr., and Kiltastic Jones. Those last few names always flow so well. So thank you, everyone, again on Patreon for the continued support. It has been very much appreciated. So real quick about YouTube content in general, we're looking to revive some old series as part of a new initiative for myself. I find myself now having too much time not working on YouTube because I'm not coming up with what feel like, I guess, unique ideas. I'm kind of fishing for that in my own mind. It's like I need a new idea, and I've like kind of stopped production of certain things while I think of those, and it's just not coming to fruition. So returning to the Healer-Happy series will be coming back, probably not till after patch 4.4, because I know that I'll basically have to negate doing it as soon as I hit patch 4.4. I could actually prepare some videos well in advance, like this week, while we're waiting for the patch. But Healer-Happy will be coming back, be continuing his adventures as we wait for the expansion, especially because we're on that long wait for the expansion. Probably going to do some new angles at that as well. Need to revisit some of the earlier levels to get updated for people who may be wondering what it's like on some of the servers that have the Road to 60 buff, for example. On top of that, we also have Bestiary. Now, Bestiary, the only reason that series ended is because I was kind of stretching for some things, but there's still a bunch of jobs. There's still some revisits that we can do, with Omega being a revisit that will be coming out probably in the near future. I think I actually already released an Omega re-release, or at least I was considering it. I know I did the Gilgamesh re-release, but considering that we're going to be finishing up the Omega raid in Final Fantasy XIV seems like a fitting time. What are some other series that I wanted to bring back? Those are the two that are definitely on the top of my list. I think I've looked at some of the other ones and just not really made 100% commitment yet, but those are two series that will be coming back. Figured since I only have a few questions on the forums, I can take the time to do these announcements now. So anyway, if you enjoyed those series, look forward to them coming back in the coming weeks and or months. On top of that, Maple Story 2, don't forget, October. Expect a little bit of content on YouTube about that, but also expect a lot of it to be live streamed over on Twitch. Anyway, let's get through the 5 questions we have over on the forums, and I'm going to go watch the NALCS finals, which I think start in like 25 minutes-ish for League of Legends. So let's get through it. Alright, so the first question. Hello, mister. Hello. I'm in a bind and not quite sure what to do when it comes to, so I come to you seeking guidance. That's never a good idea, because the irony, right? That's not a good idea. Hey, the guy who makes guides, let's not ask him for guidance. Alright, let's see what you got. Should I... Okay, well, now it's something that I don't know how much guidance you really needed me for, because... Anyway, let me read it. Should I cook tonight or just order pizza? Probably just some basic G-Pepper pizza, and take that time I saved to play more Sega Genesis games. Dude, I hope we get a Sega Genesis Classic. I like my SNES Classic. It's pretty cool. Like Shining Force 2 or the Super Awesome Beyond Chaos. So, because it looks like there's more text under this, should I cook tonight or order pizza? Well, so first of all, this decision you asked me for was 3 days ago. So, I don't know if my opinion is valid. I would say order pizza, though. And I don't do mushroom, green peppers. I just do pepperoni. I'm too Dante, like, I just want the pepperoni pizza. Whether or not you play Sega Genesis games, though, maybe you still need to play them at this point. So, yes, order pizza. Any words of advice would be appreciated. Thank you for your time, sir, and have a wonderful day. But you do have a PS here at the bottom. Do you think if Resident Evil used Pop Rocks to restore health instead of green herbs, it would have made the game even better? So, here's the thing. You go on to explain that. I can already tell you that's a terrible idea to add Pop Rocks to Resident Evil to restore health. You're in a zombie apocalypse. Pop Rocks go... Like, they make that popping noise inside your mouth. You're going to attract zombies, and then you're doomed. That's it. You don't want to attract more zombies with the herb. To be fair, I don't know. Do you grind it up and then apply it? Do you just eat the herb? I don't know what the lore standing is on green herbs in Resident Evil. So I'm just going to say Pop Rocks are a noisier way to restore health. So no, not a good idea. Question number 2. Hey, Haps, I got a quick question for you, and judging by the thread, I think you'll have time. You know what's funny? This is the second question that was asked, and it already says that. Well, it was by the 7th, which is 2 days ago. It's Friday at this point. And I only had, this is the second question. So, yeah, I think you make a good point. So, what is your overall opinion on tanking, DPSing, and healing in 14 currently? I'm presuming you mean the health of those 3 roles. Is it engaging enough, or is there room for improvement? It seems that a new system is in place for role actions. I'm waiting on that. I don't know what to think, because role actions I thought was going to be amazing, and it just didn't execute the way I wanted it to. Rick has been hit or miss. What would you want this type of content to make a return in 5.0? So, there's 3 questions here. So, a few quick questions, what works out. So, state of DPSing, tanking, and healing in 14. I think of all of them, tanking is probably the one I could criticize most. I I'm not a big tanker, so I guess my opinion on it isn't really that important. But I have leveled all the jobs at the very least. I have played them in a few things here and there. I can tell you, I like Paladin, I like Warrior. I was initially not a huge fan of the changes to Warrior. I think a lot of people were in that boat when they made the change to Inner Release and Berserk. Well, you know, Berserk becoming Inner Release and all that other stuff. That being said, I think it ended up panning out pretty well. It's not too hard to execute on, and it's very satisfying from a gameplay perspective point. You know, those windows of power are very obvious and easy to work around, but a lot more punishing if you don't play around them. With Dark Knight, that was the only one when I was leveling it. I just wasn't a fan, and then I barely wanted to play it at 70. There's just so many things behind basically only having one combo, because you don't really do the power slash combo all that much. And just, I don't know, Dark Arts just wasn't satisfying for me. Just Dark Knight wasn't as overall satisfying. So I think if there is I guess a role I'm looking at, the role as itself is functioning okay, and Dark Knight even functions okay. And I think I could say that about most, you know, if not all three of the roles, is that they all function fine. It's just that certain jobs in their niches or in their gameplay styles aren't as cohesive as I would like. So I think it actually is okay. I think they could still lean a little bit more on emphasis on healing required for, I guess, healing and tanking required for non-Savage and Ultimate level content. I feel like one of the biggest problems is when players go through the game and they're taught a pace, that pace is immediately abandoned at max level. And so there isn't much of this precedent of how much healing you really need to do at the lower levels, or, you know, how much DPS you can squeeze out. I mean, most healers just, you know, if their tank isn't super squishy, they throw out a regen, maybe save a few OGCDs, and they just DPS the whole time. If you're trying to get people ready for endgame, I suppose it's a little accurate, since, you know, a lot of people do want you to be DPSing on tanks and healers, more so than the roles that you're necessarily assigned to. But at the same time, you still need to be prepared for those huge burst damage, the huge spike damage that can come out. And I feel like they don't adequately prepare healers, especially for that role going into level 70. So that's something I think they could improve in the lower levels, is put more agency on how much healing is actually required. So, and then that should also mean that tanks have more agency on learning their cooldowns, or even utilizing tank stance. I know that'll never happen, but I'm just making an example. You said roll actions, place 5.0. What could it possibly be? Dude, I don't know. If you ever give players a choice, they'll always take what's best for any given scenario. Now the only difference with roll actions will be in 4.4 is we don't even have to make that choice. Maybe you move certain things around so they're easier to access based on your key bindings, but I don't know. I'm not a big fan of specs in MMOs or anything. By the way, nice car, Hawk. I'm not a big fan, just because in multiplayer games, like games that you're meant to play with other people, and your efficiency versus somebody else's efficiency can be an important factor of your gameplay. Everyone always gravitates towards what's going to be the best for a given scenario anyway, so choice is kind of just not that big of a deal for me. So I have no idea what it could be, and I don't know what I would want it to be. Eureka has been hit or miss with the community. Would you want this type of content make Return of 5.0? No. So I don't think Eureka is a flawed idea, but I think at this point, between Diadem and Eureka, they've kind of proven that it's just not a venture that should be continued past what they already have in store. I just feel like they could be doing more with this and Deep Dungeons in general. And I don't know if Stormblood, they just kind of wanted to make minor adjustments on top of the things because people already liked them the way that they were. Okay, let me rephrase. People didn't feel that way about exploration missions. But for Deep Dungeons, a lot of people did feel that way. So, I don't know. I feel like you can take certain concepts of it and apply it to zones that already exist. Like, maybe if you just have zones that kind of already function the way that they do, but you have these sort of, I guess, subsectors that don't really necessarily follow Eureka's rule set, but kind of follow the mentality of, you know, a dangerous area to wander around. Maybe flying doesn't work in those areas, things like that. And apply them to just maps that you've already made. Instead of making them their own instances, their own zones, their own objectives, you know, put things in those areas that people want to do, and maybe they want to group up for them. Maybe treasure maps are more frequent in those more dangerous areas, so people maybe want to group up for those a little bit more. Maybe put more agency on rewards that come from that kind of stuff. Maybe make it so hunts have a little bit more interaction with areas like that. You know, I don't feel like it's necessarily a bad idea to apply those things to an open world that you already have, but to make this thing that's way out of the way specifically for the relic. And it's not even panning out from a story perspective much at this point. It's interesting in concept, but we're just not learning enough at a fast enough pace. So, yeah, I don't know. I'd rather they just kind of move away from the Diadem Eureka style content, because I don't think they've got the proper balance, nor an audience that is receptive to it enough to warrant it. Question number 3. Hey there, Happy. How are you today? I'm good. I just got back from Hot Pot with my girlfriend. She recommended it, and it was delicious. I got a seafood Hot Pot. I think there was like some squid in there. There was an egg, which isn't seafood, but whatever. There was, you know, a lobster ball. There was, I think, a shrimp ball. There was some live, well, not live shrimp. There was some whole shrimp in there. You know, there was some vegetables. I had this garlic soy sauce on the side, and there was some tofu, which also isn't seafood, but tofu can really be anything you want to. I had a pretty good day, is what I'm trying to say. So second time asking, so I have a free pizza with a ton of pepperoni. Sorry, you censored it, so did I. By the way, French speaker here, so sorry if there are any goofs in my writing. I don't know, your writing seems very... Here's the thing. Americans don't do it properly, so you don't need to worry about it. So I followed your Final Fantasy XIV 5th anniversary stream, enjoyed it very much. Thank you. I wish I could go, it was cool to go back to the older Realm Reborn trailers and fights to see how the game has evolved, or even just talk about the old raids. Yeah, that was kind of the big thing, you know, I kind of forgot, I kind of, you know, I guess removed certain portions of my memory from those old days. Like, people started saying certain things, like, I forgot we didn't have res immunity way back when the game came out. I just, to me, it's always been there, but it's a more recent thing. You know, you see like Bard healer LBs and places like that. Man, there's a lot of differences back then, so it was pretty fun. It was more fun of a revisit than I expected, especially with what happened later in the stream. I was wondering, since you will soon see the end of Omegas, you plan on going back and rewatching Omegas. So here's the thing. When Omega's finale comes out, I'm skipping through all the cutscenes. Nice motorcycle. Because I have a raid team. We want to get in. We want to clear normal. Get through Savage as quick as possible. We're not world first. Or we're not aiming for any of that. We're just trying to clear it super quick. So we want to move through the raids as quickly as possible. I'm the only one who likes to stop and watch the cutscenes anyway. So what I am going to likely do is I'm probably going to go back, just watch literally the whole Omega, I guess, storyline from beginning to finish, like, finale. All at once after I've cleared the raids, after I put out the guide. So probably like that Saturday or Sunday, I'll probably still have quite a few guides that aren't out by then. But I should have like Suzaku and the normal modes and the Savage guides out, and like 2 or 3 of the Savage guides out by then, depending on how quickly we actually cleared through Alphascape. We're hoping for a 2-day clear, because I don't think we have time to do crazy hours on the 3rd day. People have gone back to class. People don't have, you know, they don't have work that will allow them to take a 3rd day. So yeah, that's what we're gonna do. But I'm not gonna bring myself probably back up to date. I'll probably bring myself back up to date just before I actually watch the cutscenes. So yeah, but I am planning on doing something like that, at least in some capacity. Question number 4. Yo, Haps, this week a lot of stuff dropped. Volcano Rosso and Pulamperna in Fighting EX. I don't know what that is. I don't play that. I've heard of it, but I don't play it. And then Lei Wulong in Tekken 7 and Spider-Man in Spider-Man. Everybody gets one. So a question for Glamour or Loot about 16. I don't want to talk about 16 because there's nothing to talk about. There's nothing to talk about at all about comics. I mean, I guess I do like Spider-Man and Marvel and stuff like that, but I'm not like a comic head. Like, I know most of the stuff I get about comic books is from Comic Story and on Twitter, because he does these like one-tweet reviews, and I'm just like, oh, that seems pretty cool. So, and maybe a little bit of old knowledge from way back when I'd actually read a few of them. But I'm gonna go with a question about glamour, I guess? I'm not the most glamorous of dudes. Do you know how the automatic drop in Heavenward Stormblood leveling dungeon was received? Oh, as a piece of content, I think actually the one piece of feedback I got about it is, why is it only in the leveling dungeons? I know a lot of people, you know, when they think of glamour collecting through, I guess like Scala or, what was the most recent one called? Man, I don't play 14 enough in the off season right now. It was Scala and why can't I get the name? I've been reading too much WoW stuff, and I keep thinking of like WoW names for the dungeon. And I just keep thinking, all right, well, let's just use Scala as an example of that. I know people would like love it for glamour hunting and for places like Scala, because as long as you're filling up your inventory with stuff, then you know you're working your way towards a glamour, because eventually it can only fill that one slot. So people loved it to the point where they wanted it in more stuff, especially when going from 1 to 50, or even 1 to, did you get automatic gear in Heavensward? No, I'm pretty sure that's strictly a Stormblood leveling thing. But man, it's been so long since I've done the Heavensward 51 to 59s. I'm pretty sure that it's not automatic for those, though, because I did a ton of them, unless they retroactively added it. And I wouldn't know, because I already had everything to level 60 by the time Stormblood came out. But yeah, no, I mean, people loved it. For the dungeons it applied to, it was great. I think it's great, and I think they could apply it to more places. Just not to every place, because, I don't know. I don't care. Apply it wherever you want. I like it. And like I said, it's going to be a short episode, so final question. Ahaps, I haven't posted in a while, so here's a voucher to skip the remainder of your Eureka grind as a bonus for some flex tape to protect against the damage of leaks. Fun. My question for this week is, have you considered having a random audience member join in on State of the Realm, or a segment where you ask us a question on a topic? A lot of to pick audience members. So if I was going to do anything like this, I wouldn't ever do it this way. I kind of do it the way LBR does it, where people call in. But no, as a guest, as a full-on guest, no, because when it comes to a podcast, you generally want, you can't guarantee the person that you're having on the show is necessarily the right fit for the show, and you can't really just gamble on absolutely random people who I guess you don't really know what their knowledge level is, what their attitude is like. Is it a match for what your show's tone is going to be? Like, yeah, Sly and I get a little rowdy, but there's still a certain tone to the way that the show is actually run. And Sly, it's not like Sly just got on the show out of nowhere either. You know, I'd already known him for a few months, and on top of that, he tried out for the show. I believe it was Milo, Joe Never, and Sly who tried out for the show. And Sly was like the one person who kind of he just looked at things in a different way. It wasn't contrarian just for the sake of disagreeing, but he just had a different viewpoint. Like, I was the more hardcore guy. He was the guy who took a more casual approach and looked at things, and you know, it felt like relatable on a whole different level, and it added the specific dynamic to it, and it created what we have today with State of the Realm. Then we have Ethis and his smugness and his knowledge, and that brings a certain factor. We have Mary, and he's kind of got like a lot of these niche interests that he's super passionate about, and then just kind of like a general understanding of the other things that are around it. So it adds this sort of like hardcore aspect to, or this hardcore opinion about things that we may not necessarily have hardcore opinions about. And then I can go down the list. You know, Pharos has a specific energy and a specific what's the word I'm looking for? It's something along the lines of energy. He's got this aura around him of just like joy, I suppose, and yet at the same time, you know, he can still take a joke, he can still dish out a joke, and he's super just passionate and excited to be around. You know, we've had, and then I could speak on guests. Like, I could keep going down the list. We've had so many guests over the years, but I already know these things about these people, whether through the content that they've made or through conversations that I've had with them, you know, as individuals. And so I take pretty seriously like who we actually have on the show and what kind of contribution that they're having to the show. And when it's just a random audience member, I can't guarantee any of those things. I can't guarantee their talking skills. I can't guarantee their involvement in any of the content we're planning on talking about. I generally have to plan shows around guests. Like, I don't just invite a guest on to have another opinion. I like to have them on, I guess, for certain shows, or if shows that they've expressed interest in the past. So no, I don't think I've ever considered this, and I don't know that we'll necessarily ever do call-ins either, because I've seen what can happen with call-ins as well, depending on what kind of content you're kind of fishing for with call-ins. And oh boy, oh, it can get a little dicey. Oh yes, it can. So the answer is a very, very likely no. I would probably never do it this way. However, appreciate you asking. Anyway, that's the last question on the forums, and since we're not live, that's the last question for Mondays with Mr. Happy this week. Overall, I got 8 minutes till the NALCS, so perfect timing. Anyway, I'm going to wrap that up. Thank you again to our sponsors, again, that we listed at the beginning of the show, and thank you to all of you who are watching. If you've got questions for Mondays with Mr. Happy, be sure to go to the description of the video, find the forum link, and ask them there, and then I will answer them here, and I don't know where I'm going with this. So thank you. I will see all of you next week. And until then, take care.